Let's talk about combat movement in Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. Hey everybody, it's Mitch, and welcome to another episode of my Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 101. So let's get into it. Alright, as we can see, we're going to be talking about combat movement today in our D&D 3.5 101. First, let's go over what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the battle grid and distance and how that works in 3.5. We're going to talk about 5-foot steps. We're going to talk about difficult terrain. We're going to talk about flight and how that works. We're going to talk about falling. We're going to talk about movement skill, and we're going to talk about multiple movement. All right, first up, the battle grid distance. You have horizontal and vertical distance. So as you're going this way or this way across the grid, we have 5 foot. So from here to here, 5 feet, 5 feet, 5 feet, 5 feet, 5 feet. Now, diagonal distance, it varies. Horizontal, it works the same. So 5 feet, 5 feet, 5 feet. Every square you move here, that's 5 feet. For diagonal distance, it's going to vary. So if you go from here to here, that's 5 feet. Go to here, that's 15 feet total. So from here to here is 5, and then that was another 10. And then this would be 5, and this would be 10 more, and that'd be 5 more, then 10 more, then 5 more, then 10 more. So basically you count opposites like that. And you know, if you went 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40. So you keep in mind that that was your second diagonal, and that one would be 10. Yeah, it's not too crazy, but yeah, you got to keep all that in mind. Next up, 5-foot step. So a 5-foot step is a free action. It cannot be used if you move during that turn. So if you use a move or a standard action to move, you can't take a 5-foot step. You can use a move action, but you'd have to use it for something that's not movement, like drinking a potion or drawing a weapon or something. If you use your move action for something like that, then yeah, you can take a 5-foot step. Or if you're using a full action to, attack, you can also still take a 5-foot step. So that's fine. You just can't actually do any other kind of movement other than your 5-foot step if you want to take a 5-foot step as a free action. It can't be used on difficult terrain. You have to have nice, smooth, easy to maneuver territory. There's ways to make it so that instead of 5 feet, it's 10 feet or even higher. There's ways to do it, just as a note. And it does not provoke attacks of opportunity. You can take a 5-foot step and it will not provoke an attack of opportunity, even if you're moving into threatened squares or anything like that, unless it specifically says you can on a 5-foot step. So typically it's safe. Next up, let's talk about difficult terrain, since we were just talking about that. Movement costs twice as much. So if you're on difficult terrain, every 5 feet is gonna cost you 10 feet of movement. It's gonna prevent 5-foot steps. There's reasons to believe that, if you have a 10-foot step, maybe you could take a 5-foot step on difficult terrain. No hard rules about that. Rules is written you can't, but I bet a lot of DMs would allow it if you actually had that ability. Flying creatures are not affected by difficult terrain because in the air, like who cares if there's a bunch of crap on the ground? They're not on the ground. Or various class features let you ignore it. There's a lot of class features that let you avoid it, like the rangers. Now flight, as we were talking about. Flight's very complicated. There's maneuverability, which we're going to talk about here in a bit. You also have flight speed, which is different. So flight speed's how fast you go. Maneuverability's how well you're able to move around in the air. Yeah, it's really complicated, and we're going to go over it briefly. You typically cannot fly while in medium or heavy armor, and you also cannot fly while carrying a medium or a heavy load. But there are feats that'll let you do that. So you can take a feat that'll let you fly in medium armor or with a medium load, and then if you take that feat a second time, you can then do that in a heavy load and in heavy armor. So that works, but that's just something to keep in mind. Now with flight maneuverability, there's a whole bunch of crap. So you have maneuverability, you have your minimum forward speed, you have hover, move backwards, reverse, turn in place, maximum turn, up angle, up speed, down angle, down speed, and you're between down and up. And so it's all sorts of crazy stuff, and this is all affected by your maneuverabilities. The maneuverabilities are clumsy, poor, good, average, and perfect. Not quite in that order. Yeah, and those will all give different abilities to do these things. There's a whole chart on it. It's way too much for this video to go over. I might do a video in the future going over just flight maneuverability because there's a lot to go over with that. All right, so let's talk about falling. So falling, there are a few parts. There's the fall damage. So if you jump more than 10 feet and it's not intentional, or even if it is intentional, you'll take 1d6 of non-lethal damage. So if you've jumped 20 feet on purpose, you take a 1d6 non-lethal. If you jump 30 feet, you take 1d6 non-lethal, and then 1d6 of lethal. And then you'd get another 1d6 of lethal every 10 feet beyond that. You take a decent amount of damage. It'll add up pretty dang fast. And at low levels, like this actually does mean a lot. Then you have fall speed. So each turn you're going to fall faster and faster and faster. So it does actually take into account acceleration and terminal velocity and all that fun stuff. So yeah, you actually do take into account real world physics for falling. So yeah. All right, so movement skills. With movement skills, we have climb, jump, swim, and tumble. Those are our various different movement skills that we have access to. Okay, not terrible. There are definitely things that we can work with. So climb, it will let you, climb. So typically you're going to move at half speed and you have to make climb checks. Jump, you're only able to jump so high, but it's a way to move. You can also jump forward. You can like leap over like cliffs and stuff. Swim, typically can only do at half speed, but there's ways to do it. It all involves swim check. And tumble will let you move past enemies. So these are all various different skills that give you other options of movement. And if you're going to do multiple different types of movements, so climb and swim, or run and jump and all these different things, there's not any hard fast rules about that, unfortunately. There are difficulty terrain rules, which basically will make it so that it suggests prorated movement, but at least for difficult terrain it's prorated. So that would imply that if you're using various skills that you get prorated movement, but there's really no rules that say that anywhere. Now with homebrew options, because you're gonna have to homebrew something, because there's really nothing that's for sure in the game. So you have the option of prorated movement or one type per turn. So basically you can only climb this turn or you can only walk this turn. You can't do both. So those are kind of the main ones that you could pick. Personally, I think prorated makes a lot more sense. So yeah, that's my video on Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 combat maneuvers. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I always love hearing from you. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like. Maybe subscribe to the channel for more D&D 3.5 content and ring that notification bell so you never miss out on a video. Also, down in the description below, there's a link to my Twitch as well as to my Discord. So definitely check that out and get your rolls on Discord. Anyways, as always, I'm Mitch. I'll be seeing you